scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, and that's where I'm going to stop. When I was a kid, I recited these words over and over and over again, and I don't think I understood what they meant for most of my childhood. It was just blatant repetition. There was a summer camp we went to at Camp Manitowoc, and we would go every year. And at Camp Manitowoc, there were all sorts of activities, archery, swimming, all sorts of merit badges you could work on. And one of the things that I love doing, surprise, surprise if you know me, is hiking. So I would try and hike every single trail. And that's not like the biggest accomplishment, you wouldn't think, but there's not that much time when you're at Camp Manitowoc. Even though you're there 1 week, you don't have that much free time. So you've got to use your free time very accordingly. I would use every minute I have to go on hikes, and there were different trails that were colored by the colors of the rainbow. So it was like white and yellow. Well, white's not, but there was like, yeah, that's not a color of the rainbow. But there was a yellow trail and like a red trail, and I would try and do every single one, because if you did every single one, they gave you some kind of award, which I don't remember what it is now. Probably a patch. It's Scouts. They give you patches for everything. So all the trails are generally easy except for two of them. And the two that are hard, even if you're a scout that's 16 years old, you should not be doing them alone. The one is called the Yellow Trail, and it's 10 miles long, and you shouldn't do it alone. It's just not, you're not supposed to. You're always supposed to. Scouts believes in the buddy system anyways. Well, I had done every single trail except for the Yellow Trail. And I had done a couple of them by myself because I guess I was a rule breaker. Don't tell me. They might take away my Eagle Scout. Don't tell them. But I chose to listen to the rules for the Yellow Trail, and I went to a scout leader, one of our scout leaders. His name was Mr. Lamb, and I said, Mr. Lamb, I really want to complete the Yellow Trail. It's the last one that I have to do, and then I get my badge. And Mr. Lamb was a little wary because it had just rained the night before. And every day before that had been beautiful, and I was able to just run through these trails, but the Yellow Trail was going to be a mess. It was the worst of the trails. It went down into many ravines, and Mr. Lamb decided that we would do it, but he said there was a couple of conditions. One was that we had to make sure we brought enough water, and the other condition was that we had to bring along 2 other people. One was a kid named Stephen Fisher, who was my friend and was my age, so I was like, all right, cool. The other one was Stu. And Stu. And that name pretty much explains who Stu was. Stu was a big guy. He had a huge heart, but he was a big, big guy. And he was required to hike the Yellow Trail. Now, Stu barely wanted to walk to the mess hall. So to ask him to hike 10 miles, I knew this was going to be a challenge. But Mr. Lamb took him aside, said, listen, Kyle's doing this, Steven's doing this. If you don't do it, you don't get your Manitowoc Award. And you have all your other Manitowoc Awards. This is your last year in Scouts. You want to get this one. So Stu agreed, and we knew that it was going to take us about 4 hours. So we had a 4-hour grace period between lunch and dinner. So the minute lunch ended, we had our packs ready, we went, flew out. The trail was really sloppy, really messy, but we were making our way. Stu was doing a pretty good job keeping up too. And then we get about halfway, and we realized that one of the conditions Mr. Lamb had put on us, which was to have water, Stu had not followed. So we were 5 miles in. I had half my water left. Stephen had half his water left. Mr. Lamb had half his water left. Stu had no water whatsoever. So Mr. Lamb took me and Stephen aside and said, what should we do? And we knew what he wanted us to say. He wanted us to say we should share with Stu. So we said it, even if we didn't want to do it. And we did it. We did. We shared the water. We shared the water with Stu. And Stu, again, he's a big guy. He drained it. He drained my water and Stephen's water. Mr. Lamb still had a little bit left. And Mr. Lamb said, hey, if you guys get thirsty, you guys can have some of mine. We keep going, and we get to the roughest part of the trail. We are talking a good, probably about 1,000-foot incline, which isn't much for us, but for at that time, 1,000-foot incline that was muddy and steep. We knew this was going to be get down, hands and knees kind of thing. So Stephen, Mr. Lamb, and I, we like run up it. And yeah, we're muddy, but it's fun. Stu, he tries and he slips. Tries again and he slips. Again and again, he keeps slipping. And then he sits down and he starts crying. And he starts asking for Mr. Lamb to call a helicopter to get him out. And that was literally his answer, was a helicopter. But you have to understand the place where he was very distraught. Like he everything, his weight, everything was coming down on him in that moment. And he felt lonely, he felt isolated, and he felt defeated because here are these young kids who just ran up this hill, and the older man ran up the hill, and he's stuck at the bottom. So he is really convinced he's going to give up. And Mr. Lamb takes us aside again and says, what are we going to do? We're not leaving him. And he even says that to Stu. We're not leaving you. You're not getting a helicopter down here. So it just so happened that Stephen had a rope in his pack. So we tied the rope to a tree. We brought it down. Stu wanted us to tie the rope to him and pull him up. But we told him that's not happening. So what we did, though, was one of us got behind Stu to be his anchor, and the other one was in front, and we helped Stu. He actually grabbed the rope and pulled himself up while we were sort of pushing from behind. And we got him to get all the way over that hill. And there were a couple other bad hills, but with our help, he was able to make it all the way. And while we were walking, when we finally finished the trail, we were late for dinner. We had to go change really quick because you have to be very formal. You can't be muddy when you're going to dinner in the mess hall. So we got all formal. And while we were walking to the mess hall, I finally realized what it meant to be helpful. And I realized that it wasn't even necessarily the situation, but it was the leadership of Mr. Lamb and the way that Stephen especially was there to just be like, this is what we're going to do. He was so energetic about it. So then I knew what it means when I say a scout is helpful.